Routers at the edge, identities in the cloud, and paid AI accounts in criminal shops. This week's developments tighten the timeline for patching and identity defense. Here's what matters and what to do next. Welcome back. Today we're covering 5 actor stories with direct operational impact. Quick trend note before we dive in. Multiple vendors push security updates this week. If you've been deferring maintenance windows, now is the time to prioritize patching cycles and inventory checks. First, TP-Link warns users to patch a critical authentication bypass in its Archer NX router series. The vendor has released fixes for several issues, including a critical flaw that could let an attacker bypass authentication and upload new firmware. That's a straight path to persistent, full device compromise. Why this matters? Routers anchor home and small office connectivity, and many organizations rely on them for remote workers and branch links. A compromised router undermines every control behind it. Defender takeaway: identify all Archer NX units, apply the latest firmware immediately, and disable remote management if it's not required. After patching, review device logs, confirm firmware integrity, and rotate admin credentials. Consider enabling automatic updates and segmenting router management interfaces from user subnets. Second, paid AI accounts are now a hot underground commodity. Researchers tracking cybercrime markets report that premium AI logins are being bundled and resold alongside common access goods like email accounts and VPS credentials. This signals that AI tooling has become embedded in the attacker supply chain, lowering operational friction for tasks ranging from content generation to basic reconnaissance. Why this matters? Stolen or shared AI accounts can be used to anonymize activity, launder prompts through legitimate platforms, and potentially access integrations tied to corporate identities or payment methods. Defender takeaway: treat AI platform credentials as high value. Enforce enterprise SSO and MFA for sanctioned AI services, monitor for anomalous usage patterns and unexpected charges, and disable unsanctioned AI tools via egress controls and CASB policies. Update acceptable use policies to clarify approved AI services, and require revocation of access when users depart. Third, Bubble, a no-code app builder, is being abused to steal Microsoft account credentials. Threat actors are using the platform to generate and host malicious web apps that evade basic phishing detection and lure victims into entering Microsoft credentials. This is the latest turn in an ongoing pattern of attackers co-opting legitimate hosting and development services to gain trust and bypass filters. Phishing pages on reputable infrastructure can slip past reputation-based defenses and end up with lookalike flows that users trust. Defender takeaway: reinforce layered controls that don't rely solely on domain reputation. Enforce phishing-resistant MFA where possible. Apply conditional access to restrict authentication from unmanaged devices or risky contexts, and tune detection to flag newly created app hosting domains and anomalous OAuth or session behavior tied to Microsoft accounts. Continue user education with real examples that mimic modern, app-hosted phishing flows. Fourth, device code phishing is hitting more than 340 Microsoft 365 organizations across the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and Germany through OAuth abuse. Activity was first observed on February 19, 2026, and cases have accelerated. The campaign targets identities rather than infrastructure, aiming for token-based access that can persist beyond password changes. Why this matters? Device code flows and OAuth consent can be abused to obtain access without traditional credential theft, bypassing some legacy controls and complicating incident response. Defender takeaway: review and tighten OAuth consent policies, require admin approval for untrusted applications, and monitor sign-ins and token grants involving device code and OAuth flows. Use conditional access to constrain token issuance to compliant or hybrid join devices and trusted locations. Hunt for abnormal consent grants and revoke suspicious tokens and app permissions promptly. Communicate with users on how to report unexpected prompts or consent requests. Finally, Citrix urges admins to patch NetScaler ADC and NetScaler gateway vulnerabilities immediately. 2 flaws have been fixed, and one bears similarity to the Citrix bleed issues exploited in past zero-day campaigns. While details are limited, the advisory and the product's position at the network edge warrant rapid action. Why this matters? ADC and gateway appliances often terminate VPN and application traffic. Vulnerabilities here can enable credential theft, session hijacking, or broader lateral movement, with high impact on business continuity. Defender takeaway: inventory all NetScaler ADC and gateway instances. Apply the latest updates without delay, and restrict management exposure to trusted networks. After patching, review authentication and VPN access logs for anomalies. Validate that only expected ciphers and protocols are enabled, and confirm that high-privilege sessions behave normally. If policy allows, schedule controlled reauth for remote access sessions to reset state post-patch. As always, align patching and identity changes with your change control windows, but don't let process be an excuse for delay where edge devices and identity flows are concerned. Fast containment now prevents weeks of cleanup later. If this roundup helped you prioritize, subscribe for weekly briefings, share it with your team, and drop a comment with the controls you're tightening this week.